Eden Kaz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. And as we begin the show, just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a soul realignment specialist, meditation master, and dimensional healer. Learn more, and there's merch also at EdenJustBe.com. Let's get this party started. Eden, Just Be, Spiritual Boom in association with the Grassroots Warriors Network. And as this show is audio and visual, I'm going to have both of you lovely gents say hi individually so people can recognize your voices. So Kevin, hey there.
That is myself. Hey, and how are you?
Oh,
It's
lovely
good to be
voice.
here.
Thank you. Okay, Andy, hello.
Good to be here, Eden. Thanks for having us. I appreciate it very much.
You are welcome. And you're both in Florida, so I want to state that out. And you're both representing Miles Franklin Precious Metals. Can you, either one of you, give me just a couple sentences about what Miles Franklin is? And we'll go into more detail, but just to go ahead and say that in the beginning.
Sure. I started this company with my father 36 years ago this February. My father's middle name is Miles, and his best friend who lent us $60,000 to start the company on a wing and a prayer in an office the size of a closet before the internet in 1989. His middle name was Franklin. And somehow, by the grace of God, here we are 36 years later. We've done $13 billion in sales without a customer complaint. And Kevin, who is kind of my sidekick in all of this, probably has picked up on the business faster than anyone I've ever brought on board in my career. So no one better to help address these topics, these concerns, than Kevin, who has really done an amazing job at helping so many people get back what was taken from them. And that's really an accurate way of saying it. But one last statement I'd like to bring up, in a world where products are homogenous, like a McDonald's hamburger in Boca Raton, Florida should taste the same as it does in Minneapolis, as it does in Pennsylvania, as it does in Wisconsin. Doesn't matter. It's homogenous. And when you talk about gold and silver, it is homogenous, meaning it's the same gold eagle you buy from one dealer to the next. What differentiates us is our reputation over 36 years and no customer complaints. But also, we've had a satellite office down here in Boca for going on 19 years. That my oldest friend in the world runs, who's not here with us today. But Joel started the office on our behalf 19 years ago. And I left my corporate office in Minnesota when I moved here myself 5 years ago for one reason. It's the only state in America.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about today, this is the most important thing I'll say all day. And that is that in the United States of America, precious metals sales, retail sales like this, is a federally non-regulated industry. And therefore, there are a lot of charlatans out there. There are a lot of people who do things that are less than scrupulous. So I would simply say to you that what differentiates us above everything, above our reputation, is the fact that Minnesota is the only state in America that requires licensing, bonding, and annual background checks of everyone in the company, Kevin, myself, as the owner of the company, everyone, mandatory background checks. If anyone had a felony related to financial services, they are forever disqualified from working in the industry in the state of Minnesota. A very, very large CERTI bond, which is the kicker for most companies, and also continuing education and compliance that is on par with a FINRA-regulated securities firm. So as a result, in almost every company in America has boycotted doing business in the state of Minnesota, because whether your corporate office is domiciled there like ours is, or you happen to have an office in Florida or Kentucky or Georgia and you sell into the state of Minnesota, they'll shut you down. They'll sue you, and they will say, if you are not compliant with the state of Minnesota Commerce Department regulations, licensing, bonding, background checks, we're going to sue you. So it holds us to a far higher standard. And that's the one thing I'd like people to take away from who you're hearing this from. I've been doing this longer than anyone. We have a better reputation than anyone, but none of that matters state of Minnesota puts an exclamation point on it, and that's what matters.
And Eden, he's being a little bit humble. He is probably the foremost in precious metals and also in economics and being able to basically find things, breadcrumbs that have been spread around many, many years before they actually come to light. So he's, as I always say, and he's also one of my best friends in the world.
Here it comes.
He is by far and away, the dumbest, smartest person I've ever met.
Yeah. So what he's basically saying, if they only knew the real Andy. I'm okay with that. You know, we can only be good at so many things.
You don't get a smarter mind than him. That is for sure.
But I forget to zip up my zipper, and the tag hangs out of the back of my pants.
Every single Saturday.
Yeah, it's not done intentionally. There's only so much room in my brain.
But fortunately, we are fortunate enough to work in an environment where, again, he is a brilliant mind, a very, very, very close friend of mine, and we have a lot of fun together.
And I won't disagree with anything he just said there. So thank you.
And for those who are watching, they're actually sitting side by side. And we'll talk about your studio, which is, from what I understand, 5 years old. Because y'all, you know, I'm sitting here because Andy, I think you used to record your podcast in your basement. So I'm doing it in my office right now. But now it's there you go. There's the full view for those who are watching. It's lovely.
Yeah. And when I lived in Minnesota, I did it in my basement. During the pandemic, I look at those videos and I'm green in color because, you know, I'm living down there. I'm working 20 hours a day back then when it really went crazy, and no sun in Minnesota in the winter.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Delray and Boca area when the George Floyd riots happened. And there are no basements in Minnesota. So in Florida. So I was doing it in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And then about... a few months ago, we hired a gal named Michelle McCory to help run our media division. She's probably maybe the most well-known analyst in the industry, and we're thrilled to have her. But we had to up our game. So this studio is only about 4 or 5 months old. But I've done over 6,000 podcasts since 2019, and almost all of them with a background just like yours. And it's not the background that matters, it's the message that does. And I think I've proven that. But yeah, you know, having a couple of very large 100-inch monitors behind you and some studio lights, and you too can look like you know, you're doing it professionally. But to me, it's the message that matters more than anything. And I think that's why we're really happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm very excited, you guys, to be here. Sidekicks, you both are, which is funny. Okay, so a couple things I wanted to share before we really get into things. All right, so those who are new here potentially for the first time, the beginning of my show basically says that this is a spiritually based show, that 90% of the people that come on here are very into the Great Awakening we talk about, and this huge human ascension. So it's about energy, mindset, and positivity. Okay, yet through this Great Awakening, I also believe and know that all of our financial and all of our institutions are going to radically change, which that is financial, which again, I appreciate you guys being on the show. Also political, educational, everything. I've had many patriots who've been on the show as well, who are also coming into these God spirit moments. So I am going to ask you guys some questions on that later. So things they would have never thought or believed, they're coming into that as well. So let me talk about how I met you guys, and y'all have talked, Kevin, you've talked a little bit about it. But to be clear, I have no affiliation or financial gain for having you guys on the show. So just to make sure that that's put out there. And Kevin has helped me personally. So I have been touched so deeply by that. So that is one of the reasons that y'all are here. Okay, so it did start. Glenn from Privacy Academy was on my show. So episode 182, we are on 188. And at the end of the show, he brought up, oh my gosh, there are Gold IRA scams out there. So I listened to him, and at the end of the show, off air, I was like, hey, Glenn, can we talk more about this? Because I have gone into Gold IRAs. So he said, well, let me hook you up with Kevin, and Kevin can help you out a little bit, which he has been doing. And I also talked to you guys before we started. This is not a financial show. So I would like you to get down and dirty on some things. And I do want to talk about the importance of precious metals through the awakening. I want to cut through any BS and truths and really help people. Okay, y'all, down with that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay,
You
awesome.
you want me to start on the IRAs, or you want to kind of get
Well,
into a little bit of
I want to
the
read your
precious
Leave
bios
metals?
that up to
first.
her.
Yeah,
Leave it up
please
to
go
man.
ahead.
I got questions. We are ready. All right. So, Kevin,
You
I
got it.
wanted to read your bio first. All right. You have spent nearly 25 years in the financial world, building deep expertise across markets and investments. Over the past 5 years, you have specialized in precious metals, helping clients navigate gold and silver markets with clarity and confidence. As a precious metal specialist at Miles Franklin, you combine decades of financial experience with a client first approach, guiding investors towards secure strategic holdings in an ever changing economic environment. In addition, as you stated, he co hosts a weekly live podcast with Andy on the Miles Franklin YouTube channel, where they answer client questions in real time and discuss current trends shaping the precious metals market. Andy, I'm going to move to
Well,
you.
before you go there, I'm
Yes.
gonna apologize because during that our weekly podcast, I have a hard time looking at him without laughing, and we constantly are, poking at each other, and I'll put things on his head when he's talking,
Yeah.
like a football helmet, and we try and. I do so many podcasts all week long that are so
Yeah.
serious and focused
Right.
on what's happening around the world that when I get to sit next to my brother here, not actual from a different mother.
Yeah. A lot of levity.
I can't. It's very difficult for me to remain composed. So if you hear me break out in a giggle once in a while, or
Please.
look at him kind of cross, it's only out of love and respect for Kevin. But everything you said is true, and he is a superstar. So,
Uh,
anyways, moving on.
kind words.
So please do
Let's
that.
give Andy's bio. That's the real
Okay,
one.
here we go. Let's
He's
see.
he's the superhero.
Let me clear my voice. And I appreciate that too, because so much that's going on in our world is really serious. Yet to be lighthearted about it, to know that we're all going to get through this and that we're all together in it, that's key. So Andy is the owner and president of Miles Franklin Precious Metals, a firm he founded in 1989. And you expressed some of this, but we're going to go through it again. With more than 3 decades of experience in the precious metals industry, Andy has built Miles Franklin into one of the most trusted names in the business, recognized for integrity, transparency, and first class client service. Under his leadership, the company has executed over 13 billion in sales, and you say this too, but I'll say it again, without a single regulatory infraction or even one material customer complaint. An achievement that set Miles Franklin apart in a federally non-regulated industry. Andy is also a frequent guest on financial podcasts and interviews where he shares his deep knowledge of monetary history, global economics, and the critical role of gold and silver in protecting wealth. All right, Kevin, what do you think about that?
I think that, as I could say again, he's the
Dumbest, smartest person I know.
the dumbest, smartest person I know. And like you said, we do. It's amazing to see him and the talent that he has with all these financial networks, and these people, literally some of them have him on speed dial when they want to know
Wow.
certain things about economics and metals. Andy is literally their number one phone call. And he is certainly my mentor and has taught me everything I know about this business and this industry. And there is not a soul that I would trust more about this business, or any business for that matter, when it comes to it, than Andy. So it is an honor and a privilege to work at Miles Franklin. It is an honor and privilege to work under him. And like I said, I consider myself certainly so lucky to not only be in this business, but to be able to do it with one of my favorite people in the world.
God bless. Thank you.
So great. And the show is about integrity too. So it's great. All right. I want to know first, how did you both get on the precious metals track? What led you here? Who wants to start?
Well, I went to the University of Minnesota with the intention of being a baseball player in 1988, and I hurt myself. I tore up my knee, and my father said to me, come to work with me. I'm going to start a company. And I
Okay.
think I'm going to tell you what he said to me because it's important as we go through this conversation for you to understand my frame of reference. And I mean this sincerely. And it was the greatest gift my father has ever given me, or the greatest gift I've ever received, period. My parents sold their life insurance policies on top of borrowing the money from a friend.
Hmm.
We come from nothing. We were middle class at best. Both my parents were in the clothing industry. My dad worked for Champion Sporting Goods, and he was a history major. They both lost their jobs in the recession of 1983. He took a job out of pure desperation with a precious metals company, speaking all around the world, and started to get a little bit of success when he was in Switzerland. Some folks came to him and said, "We want you to bring to the United States the concept of Swiss investments." And that's how we started. As a representative of the Swiss insurance industry, we realized very quickly that the same person who bought Swiss investments bought gold. So I come on board about 6 months after he started the company in right at the tail end of '89, early 1990. And he said one thing to me. He said, "Andy, there's one rule and only one rule. And if you can live by that, great. If not, I'll fire you." Cool, Dad. One rule, I can deal with that, even
Okay.
at 19 years old. What's the one rule? He says, "You'll buy something every 2 weeks, period. When you get paid, you'll buy, I don't care if it's 1 ounce of silver or a tenth of an ounce of gold, you'll buy something." And I said, "I can deal with that." Now, my dad's been retired for almost 2 decades. I talk to him 2, 3 times a day. He's still, in many respects, my partner, but completely out of the business and has been for a long time. I have honored my promise to him. He won't fire me anymore, but I have bought something every 2 weeks for almost 36 years. And what that taught me was not only to pay myself first, that you're not 19 or 20 forever. You wake up one day like life is, he says, like a roll of toilet paper. You don't notice it spinning when you're young. As you get older, it starts to spin faster. You start to be cognizant of the cardboard. And and that's what happens to all of us. Time catches us, no matter how hard we try to hide from it. And the concept of understanding the power of compounding. Everyone always focuses on the power of compounding of interest, which is huge, huge, but compounding of time too, and of effort, like working out, like dieting, like building a relationship, like doing anything you want to be good at, or saving. And I look back at 36 years worth of saving and prioritizing my future self as the greatest gift I've ever been given, ever. To understand that gold and silver, to me, are not investments. They are wealth that, in the biblical sense, have been wealth since the Bible. It was gold was mentioned over 400 times in the Bible, silver 400 times, and cumulatively north of 700 times throughout all of history. Kings, queens, emperors, pharaohs, through every event, 2 world wars, German hyperinflation, the Great Depression, every pandemic, everything. And here we are, almost 6,000 years after it was mentioned in the Bible, and you see the most well-funded, but more importantly, well-informed traders on the planet, the central banks, are buying it and possessing it, removing counterparty risk, taking it off of the exchanges at a level no one has ever seen ever. And so what I just want to get across as we talk about this stuff, gold is wealth. You do not buy it to become wealthy. If you own enough of it, you may be. You buy it because it is wealth that is outside the system and has proven to be resilient against everything the world has ever tried to throw at it. And it's not an archaic relic of the past. It's God's money, and it has been, and it will be. And it's coming back full circle now, and I believe will be reintegrated into the monetary system. So without going deep into economics, I just want people to know that, to me, gold is money and nothing else. And in fact, JP Morgan said gold is money, everything else is credit. So he was right. And that's when we talk about why we own gold and silver within an IRA. It is for that reason specifically. And I just wanted you to know that there are no ulterior motives here. This is all about trying just to explain the way that I see the world. And I'm very thankful that I learned the lesson of paying myself first and understanding the laws of compounding at a young age. So if anyone is out there who is young enough to let this sink in and resonate, or you have kids out there that are, this is, to me, the greatest gift you can give a younger generation, and that is teach them how to prioritize their future self.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. I love God's money as well. All right, Kevin, how did you start? start this?
So we actually, Andy and I live in the same community, and we play golf together all the time. And when Andy first moved in, we were playing golf together, and I think that I was, my brother's been involved in cryptocurrency for quite some time, and has always been trying to tell me to buy it, and I did, and I think I bought my first Bitcoin at around 5,000, and that was a little too late. Well, he thought I was an idiot for not buying it sooner, which clearly I was wrong and he was right, because he was buying it in the hundreds and I waited until 5,000. And Andy and I were having a discussion one day about, the differential between digital gold and physical gold. And I think that our ideologies were very similar. At the time, I was much more invested in Bitcoin than I was in physical gold. And we just started having a lot more deeper conversations, both business as well as personal and social. And we became brothers very quickly. And Andy asked me to join the company. And originally, I think he asked me to be his CFO. And I said, if you want me to turn a multi-million-dollar business into $1 million business, I can probably do that. I was not the right person to be his CFO. And I let him know that. And so I started coming on board in sales, and very quickly I fell in love with the business.
And rose to number one in the company.
Wow. Okay. So you had no gold and silver knowledge or
No, I had a financial background. I was on Wall Street for quite a number of years, and I owned my own branch of Raymond James, and I became President's Club there. So I was in the financial world.
Got it.
But it was more, even still today, what we talk about, the most that I really knew about silver and gold was that it should represent close to 5 or 10% of a healthy portfolio in a normal environment. But even though it's supposed to represent that, it doesn't. And we see that day in day, that, the metals business in people's investment portfolio really equates to about 0.5% of overall investable assets. So we started there, and then it just very, very quickly grew and blossomed. And now, I eat, breathe, sleep, silver, gold, metals, economics. I go to bed. It sounds a little weird, but if I go to sleep, falling asleep to podcasts, listening to Andy, it's the last thing I do.
It's actually me under your bed.
Exactly. He's underneath my mattress.
It's funny because he mentions 0.5%. I've always said that the allocation of metals across the entire United States financial matrix is 0.5%. And I would always say, if you go back through 6,000 interviews I've done, I always say from Joe and Jane Sixpack to the Harvard Endowment Fund, that number is 0.5%. Last week, the Harvard Endowment Fund just bought $101 million worth of gold. So finally, my statement comes true. But Kevin exemplifies the understanding of the why, not the what. The what is something you can learn. The what is what coins to buy. The why is everything. Why would I want to own gold? What are the things that would make me need to own gold? What's happening in the world with macroeconomics and geopolitical events that I would need to? So he was easy because the what is easy. It's like when you come to grips with having to spend the money to buy a car, that's the hard part. But picking out the make and the model is the fun and easy part. So that's why Kevin took off so fast, not because he's a savant, but because he understood after 20 years of being in finance, the why, the what's easy. You can learn that anyway.
And similarly to Andy with his father, he didn't threaten me to fire me, but he told me every 2 weeks, buy something. And,
same thing.
That's the biggest gift that he has given me, because
it really is, isn't it?
It's certainly 100%. There's no question that when I look back over the last X amount of years and I see what I've been able to accumulate by doing it, it's amazing. And you couple that with the growth that we've seen in the rise of the metals prices, it's and very comforting. I don't have to worry about what the Dow Jones is doing every single morning or the NASDAQ. I know that I'm invested in an asset class that's withstood the last 5,000-6,000 years. It's not going anywhere, and it's a very, very comfortable feeling knowing that.
And it's called cost averaging. And cost averaging smooths out the uncertainty curve. Some weeks are higher, some weeks are lower, but over time, you don't even remember what you paid. It's about the number of ounces you own at the end, not what you paid. And I don't mean to be cavalier in saying that, but it's true.
That's where we're going to start, I think, talking about Eden, and your experience, because that was the most important thing that I had discussed with you early on.
Yeah, so why don't we go into that? Because when Glenn introduced me to you, Kevin, and I think our first phone call talking about you kind of like the granddaddy or the father of this and discovering it. Can you tell about that process of figuring this out and Andy also talking about the deception that's out there, and there are so many
Yeah,
companies right now that have these high named endorsers and it's just all fake.
yeah. So, I think it was back, I want to say it was probably about a year and change ago that uh, we had a client call in
Yeah.
and said that just they got their statement and it didn't make sense. And can you look at it?
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and it typically is, I always say that the story never changes, the title does, meaning that there's a lot of different companies out there, but they do the same thing. They buy the same metal. As Andy was talking about, it's homogeneous. Everything in that sense is fungible from one to another. But I looked at it and I couldn't believe my eyes, because, I mean, we make a nice living, but we do so in a very, very competitive small margin business. Like Andy said, we've done 13 billion in sales, but we do so with a very, very small margin, very fair to our clients. And when I looked at what I saw versus, in terms of what the actual value
Mm.
of the metal is. So what I mean by that is, if you take a 1 ounce gold coin, and the price of gold in the spot market is 3,400. Well, on a 1 ounce gold coin, you'd expect a maybe 2-3% increase in terms of what we call premium, uh, in addition to that spot price, which is very fair. Um, when I looked at this client's account and I saw that they were buying them predominantly 1/4 ounce gold coins. And
Mm.
if you take, let's just say it's $3,000, a 1/4 ounce value is roughly is $750. You take 3,000, and the fractional equivalent would be $750. That's what the metal is worth. Well, the premium that they charged on top of that was virtually triple. So that $750, what the value should be, they ended up charging almost, I think it was probably $2,100. It was beyond eye-opening, just beyond. And that got me starting to investigate what, I thought it was a mistake
Oh
right
yeah.
away. I
Were
thought it was
you
a mistake.
shocked? Like
Yeah,
thinking
I
it
was
was, yeah.
beyond, like something has to be wrong.
Yeah.
And like you said, I look online at certain companies and I see there are actors, there's political
Hmm.
figures, there's a lot of people that many people look up to, that,
YouTube influencers.
yeah, YouTube influencers that
Yep.
that are behind these companies, that stand behind them. And when we started looking a little bit more into it, the amount of money that we have learned they get paid is astronomical.
They don't know it though, Eden. I
Yeah.
would argue that these people are good people. They have no idea. I was able to quickly discern it because I've been doing this for so long. Kevin and I together will be able to say, whoa, whoa, wait a second. But my guess is the people look, when you get offered, you know, mid five figures a month to promote a company that it seems to be in good standing. I'm going to have Kevin explain to you one of the
Yeah.
reasons why they are in good standing, why they have no complaints, why they have A+ ratings. It has something to do with if there ever is a complaint, these companies will ask you to do what, Kevin?
Well, basically, what they do is they'll ask you to take the complaint down, and they can potentially compensate you for doing so. Or if you have a negative review, they will compensate you for taking it down. Uh, Very simple, Trustpilot, Better Business Bureau, you write a negative review, and then things
Retract it.
change and they retract it. So it's really just, and so as we were going through it, I started kind of figuring out the ways in which clients can potentially recover their assets, walking them through how to go about doing so, what to say. And certain companies are certainly a lot easier than others. There are others that I would love to say that I stand here today with you in front of Andy and say that we have a, 100%, you know, success rate. It's not the case. There are certain companies out there, usually it's the smaller ones that are more difficult to deal with,
Hmm.
because they just don't seem to care as much. The larger ones do have a much greater amount of exposure.
And not only that, I would think the smaller ones are they don't have a big bankroll.
Correct.
And so when they're making these, the average commission in this industry typically never exceeds 3 to 4%, and on most very large orders will be in the 1% range. And then
Okay.
we pay shipping. So when it's all said and done, it's like a grocery store chain. You're making 1% sometimes or less on real small orders, maybe 3 or 4. Almost every order is north but south of 2%. These companies in general are making 100% or more. And Dale Whitaker, who was a CFO for one of these companies, explains this. But the point of it is that these small companies, I would argue, they figure they can do it too. Maybe they came from one of the other companies, as they all have the same MO. They don't have the ability when you place $1 million order. Maybe they're making $100,000 on you, these corrupt companies or whatever they are. But
Oh, it's way more than
but
that.
whatever the number is, okay, $500,000. I don't know
Yeah.
how much they're making, but that money is being blown like that,
Yeah.
and they're not saving it. But some of these bigger, well-established companies that have the Hollywood actor, spokespeople,
Mhm.
they have a large enough war chest to where they're offering these people up front, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 a month to do it.
Ooh.
And they have no idea that they are actually being or promoting what is amounting to white collar crime. They have no idea. I will bet my life that none of them have any idea. Maybe they will at some point. And in fact, I've heard rumors that Tucker Carlson wants to talk about this as well with
Ooh.
Dale Whitaker. So I can't confirm that, but I just heard it.
Yeah.
It's starting to become a bigger story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and maybe then that will change. But it's something that is so grotesque once you pull back the covers and see what's happening. I'm really glad you had us on the show, because if we can help 1 or 2 people, that's amazing. But to Kevin's point, some of the smaller ones just refuse. And quite frankly, these people belong in jail. They certainly belong in front of a judge, certainly. And this is the problem of dealing with a federally non-regulated industry. This is what separates us. This is why the advice coming from us is not trying to have everyone buy from us. We're trying to open
Right.
people's eyes to what's happening.
Yeah.
And is it okay? Let me go ahead and jump to this quickly, because I'm assuming once the show is aired that there will be many people that will need some assistance. Uh, how would y'all like? Let's go ahead and just put this out there on the table right now. How would y'all like to deal with that? Can they contact you? What should they do? Because I know, Kevin, you also talked about in helping me that one day or one week you had 30 or 40 other people that came to you, because this is huge right now for those of us who are awake and in the know, but this is another level of awakening. All right, how do you want to handle it?
Easiest and best way is to just have any of your listeners write an email to info@milesfranklin.com. In that email, have them mention Eden, so that we
Okay.
know it's coming from you. And what we'll do is we will make sure that we take a look at what they've done.
With no obligation.
Yeah, no obligation whatsoever, but we'll take a look at what they've done. The important things for me when we look at things are, what did you buy? Who did you buy it from?
Mhm.
At what time period did you buy it? And then I do a lot of my research to find out and investigate all the various different things, like I did with you, with what spot price was and what the differentials between spot and the current market is, and really try and dissect what the value should have been from then till now, and that's it. But if they write an email in, we will definitely make sure that we spend the time to investigate and help every single person out. That's for sure.
Okay, Kevin, what if you become so busy in this? that this
Well,
becomes
I already am so busy.
okay.
Ask my wife, trust me.
There are a few other brokers like
Yeah.
my son who has kind of picked up the torch with
Okay.
Kevin's assistant. I'm too busy to do this stuff, but Kevin isn't, and we have dedicated a few others to follow up with Kevin. My son is a chip off the old block, and with Kevin's assistance, he is now being able to help Kevin when he gets overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm
Josh's
assuming
son is spectacular.
okay, because I'm assuming this could be a major avenue. I mean, because I already know so many people that have done this, and that the more that the word gets out, it's not so great. Yeah, I think this could be a lot. And Kevin, tell me, it was so neat when we talked initially how talking about your heart and your one of the reasons that you're doing this. It came
I mean, look,
straight from the heart, and that I love
I
that.
got a call. I remember, I think the first one that or the first or second one that I got, I think Andy had gone on to one of the podcasts and was talking about it, and someone wrote an email in, and I got a phone call. Andy asked, will you see what you can do on this one? I
The
said,
guy was crying, wasn't it?
it was an
Oh,
85-year-old man. He had put in $200,000, he and his wife's retirement, and he got his statement from his custodian after about, they were delayed in the first statement, so it probably ended up being around 3 months later. And he saw that the statement was under around $80,000.
Okay.
And he, I have an 85-year-old mom. He was hysterical crying. And it literally just broke my heart
My
that,
wife's going to divorce me, he
yeah,
said.
my wife's going to leave me. What are we going to do? And, I have such trouble understanding how people can lay their head down on a pillow at night,
Yeah.
comfortably go to sleep, knowing that they are doing these things to people. And, this is a predatory act because they are targeting your single largest asset, typically besides your home, and going after it and telling you they're going to protect you, when in essence they are doing anything but protecting you. They are really hurting you. So it got to me, and I said to Andy, I said, if you don't mind, this is kind of like this is my goal, is to help these people do this. And we need to get out there and scream from the rooftops, let people know that they have to start looking for the warning signs. And if you know this beforehand, you're going to be certainly a lot better off in terms of, if you don't have to get to the point where you're fighting back your money, you just don't ever get to a position where you're doing it. So we now tell people to look out for the warning signs of what we see.
Let me add to that two things. One, I want people not to take away from this that precious metals shouldn't be in an IRA. I think that precious metals should be in an IRA. There's wonderful, wonderful qualities to the right portfolio being held in an IRA, because one of the abilities with the precious metals IRA is the ability to distribute the metal in kind. So you can take cash as a distribution or a liquidation. You can also take the metal, and if you own the right stuff, it can be fantastic. This isn't what this is about. It's about owning the right form. And I also want to say, this is going to sound kind of silly, and I don't mean it to be grotesque or silly, but to me, what is being done to these people, it's almost as bad as, how can I even say this without sounding like an idiot? You see a lot of things, people are abusing children. This is just as bad differently. You are destroying someone's life, just like you would destroy a child's life. You're destroying someone's life at a later stage who has no ability to make it right.
Correct.
They cannot go back to work. You're destroying their life and that of their future generations, and it is deplorable. And it's not that we're trying to be holier than thou. What I am just simply saying is that when you see some of this stuff, I was speaking, I don't know if you know who Jean-Claude is, because he's kind of in the spiritual world, beyond mystic. And I was speaking at his conference in Canada earlier this year, and I had a similar situation. I was talking about this in one of my presentations up on stage, and I was followed out by a few people who were sobbing to me, and my wife is in there, and if she only knew this, and it's really gut-wrenching, and it's not, I'm not being sensational. There are some that are so awful that it's beyond reproach. So I want people to understand that the motivation behind this, yes, we run a business, but when Kevin does this, he doesn't expect people to take the proceeds and reinvest with us. Most do, some don't. This is what you're supposed to do in order to run a good business. Being a good, kind person and doing the right thing does not need to be mutually exclusive from running a good business. They should go hand in hand. There doesn't always have to be an ulterior motive. This is an angle. Yeah, from a business perspective it is, but it's also doing the right thing. And I don't know anyone else is doing it. And so we try to do it and do it respectfully. I've done 100 videos or more on this with people all around the country, other people like Glenn and Eric, but others too. And I never mention the companies that are perpetrating this stuff, never, as much as I would like to. You never see the CEOs of any of these companies showing their face. Instead, they pay someone 5 figures a month to do it for them and to steal for them without even knowing. But I just want people to understand that it's that bad. It's as bad in my mind as harming a child, because you're talking irreparable harm for the rest of these people's lives, whether it be, God forbid, a child, or God forbid, your grandmother or grandfather, who do not have the ability to fix it. And now you see an 85-year-old guy bagging groceries at the grocery store because everything that he thought was there is gone, or the majority of it. And it's that serious. So please understand, this is not about being sensational or trying to find an angle to do business with impure intentions. Do the right thing and good things follow you. What goes around comes around. It's karma, and that's what we're trying to do. I hope that comes across.
And he's 100% right. And just to kind of add on to one thing, and I tell everyone the same thing, because we completely believe in the metals market, and that these are a great way for people to put money into something different than your typical asset, or a declining dollar, a depreciating dollar. And I say to them, you did the right thing. You picked the right horse, but you picked the wrong jockey. And that's it. And it kind of
You said that to me, which was very, very good.
I mean, it's absolutely the truth. You made the right decision, but people believed in, most of the time, it is because of either the spokespeople, or it's because of the reviews that they see online, that they go with these type of companies. And unfortunately, that's, in this day and age, when we live in a world where people go to the internet for everything, just because you see it on the internet doesn't make it true. And we're kind of there to help people along the way with getting that due diligence done. So
for me too, in the patriot community, the spiritual community that I was in, I had several people who were also affiliates for these companies. So that also is like, I waited a long time before I chose who I chose. And apparently I well, again, I thought it was wise. And luckily for me, I want to go back to the initial gentleman too. I don't want to forget that. Luckily I went to 2 companies that were the bigger companies. So far, you and I, Kevin, it's been okay. I guess it hasn't been, oh my gosh, I've lost everything. What happened to the initial man that you met?
So I got him back. His money.
Wow.
And actually, we were able to not only help him, walk him through the process of what to do, but I think at the time I was able to get him not only the money back, but it was what I believed he should have been able to, not nearly the amount that the market has moved over the course of time, but a fraction of it. So at least it was something on the plus side of the equation, as opposed to what he was looking at was down 60%. He was able to see probably a benefit of around his initial investment back plus around 15-20%. So it was great.
That is very great.
And he ended up, he said, I don't know how to tell my wife. And my response was, don't. Wait until we can see what we can rectify before you do, because why get her crazy the same way you are? And fortunately, he never had to. So they got the money back. And yes, as Andy said, they did decide to reinvest with us. Certainly I'm not pulling anyone's arm. It's not something that we sign this or do this. It's nothing like that. It's If you want to stay in metals, we can definitely help you and reallocate you properly. But it's in by no way, shape, or form something that we make mandatory.
Yeah, one of the best, if not the best price in America from a company who's never had a customer complaint and is licensed and bonded and background checked. So we dot the I's and cross the T's all the way around, but it's not a condition of doing the transaction. Kevin does all this work on the come. If it happens to be that, hey, we'd like to do this, then we'll make it a good experience. And if not, I just have had enough of it, then so be it. But that's our way of doing what's right, and it's worked out very well for everyone involved.
No question.
That's great. Have y'all had folks that have come to you that they've lost most of it, or there have been cases where
What's
it's
the worst
just
you've seen, Kevin?
The worst I've seen was probably one that we just
yeah.
did.
Oh my
A
gosh.
sweet old guy.
Gunther.
Yeah, he had about, this wasn't in his IRA, this was his regular monies, but he had sent in about 1.4 million. And if I tell you, the true value of those metals were probably in the neighborhood of around maybe 400,000. When I saw the prices that
Wow.
they were charging him, and these were in Eden, these were more in the numismatic market, the older collectible gold coins,
Yeah.
St. Gaudens and Liberties. When I showed Andy, it was literally chin to the table, just baffled that anyone could even remotely charge these type of numbers. And we just actually he got his first, one of those companies made him actually, upon the settlement, made him sign a payout agreement. So it was beneficial, but it's not all at once.
Well, this is what you're talking about with some of the smaller kinds.
Right.
This is just grotesque. They want to pay them like 300,000 every month, is it?
It was 300 for the first month, and then payouts subsequent to that. So, for 5 additional months. But
So it takes 6 months to get your money back from some of these creep companies,
right,
because they blow all the money that they steal from people, probably on Ferraris and and strip
but yet
clubs
they didn't
or
have any
whatever they're
problem.
doing.
They had no problem taking the $1.4 million in all at once. That they had no problem with. So,
Right.
buyer beware. It is exactly that. I mean, look, the truth is, there's a horror story I see every day. It's every single day. It's just a matter of how bad is it, and it's usually the same players. It's just like the NFL. We have a certain amount of teams in there, and we see the same players day in and day out, and it's truly unfortunate. But I do feel like in this day and age, we're seeing more of these type of companies because they're so loud and proud of what they do, than you see of the Miles Franklin. And frankly, I wish to God that there would be federal regulation on our industry, because you would probably get a lot of these bad actors shut down and completely gone away with.
Ooh. Okay. And I love, again, you guys talking about this, because my show isn't also about doom and gloom. It's about the truth. And I think exposing this is so good right now. Okay. Let me go ahead and ask real quick. Do you guys see yourself as spiritual?
Very much so. I find myself, in fact, I'm not religious at all, but incredibly spiritual. And I believe in a higher power. I believe in what goes around comes around. I believe in all of those things, very much so. I don't know about Kevin, but to me, I am far more spiritual than I am anything else.
Same.
Okay.
I've never been very religious growing up, but I as well feel like there's something, a higher power that guides me. I think everything happens for a reason, and it was all brought. Everything happens for one reason or another, whether it's good or bad. And I just kind of follow that, my intuition, and whatever the powers that be.
So good. All right. Should we talk more about IRAs, or do you
Yeah.
think we're concluded with that, or
Now,
is there anything else?
let me do this. Let me just,
Yes.
because I want your listeners to know the warning signs. That's the important
excellent.
thing. Because if they know what to look for, then they probably will not get themselves into the situation that
Okay.
other people have gotten themselves
Just
into.
be
So
practice.
number one, when you see these advertisements on paper, on TV, and it has a website, you go to the website, and the first thing that you see is IRAs with celebrity people. Put that as a check mark of a Put your sneakers on, get ready to run. That's number one.
Okay, by the way, I'm going to make this as just be practice too, but I do have another question for you both after this. Okay.
Yeah.
So celebrities, endorsers, big gold IRA, that's your biggest.
Well, you go to most precious metal websites, and IRA is a tab up on top.
Correct.
You go to these
Yeah.
websites, it's Gold IRA.
Right in your face.
Protect your
Because
assets.
the elderly folks, they're easy pickings, is
Yeah.
basically what they're saying.
Okay.
So that's the number one telltale. Number two is they generally will never list any prices for metals or show you, for the most part, the metals that you will be buying on their site. You go to Miles Franklin, you will see thousands upon thousands of different metals with our pricing. We have nothing to hide. We're fully transparent. Yes, we do work with IRA companies. And
Can I stop you for a minute? Just so someone goes to our website, they don't misconstrue. Will you explain to them how our pricing, just for 1 second, so they don't misconstrue that?
Yeah, so on our website, we predominantly have the website so that people can see more of an inventory type of situation. Our website pricing is really geared for pricing of purchasing metals for under $10,000. Anything over, you are going to deal with a broker, and that's it. So it's either going to be me, or we have 12 other brokers at Miles Franklin that you're going to deal with, who are extraordinary in what they do, extremely, extremely intelligent, and know the market very well and know what to do with our clients. That's what most people want. They want somebody to really guide them through the process in a realistic way. Those prices are going to be substantially different than what you're seeing on the website.
How do they get our prices?
So generally speaking, with ours, we're going to send them out an affiliate price sheet. So even, for example, if any of your clients are interested in metals, we will have them get the affiliate pricing sheet, which is going to be substantially lower than what they could see on the website. So I always tell everybody, whatever you see there, if you're interested, just call us. We'll give you the real pricing.
And when I do all these interviews, I say the best way to get it, and there are reasons why I do this. I work with a lot of financial advisors who tell their clients to buy metals from us, but I don't want their clients going directly to the website and undercutting or undermining their brokers. So we tell people, with no obligation at all, send us an email at info@milesfranklin.com and just request the price sheet. No obligation, no one will contact you ever unless you want to be. We send that out. It'll be amongst the best in North America. And I always say, we only update it once or twice a week. So if you find a better price, let us know. We're not trying to hide anything. We will give you the prices with zero obligation. You want to make a small purchase? Fine, go do it on the website. But anything else, reach out to us. And you know, the fact that we haven't had a customer complaint is underscoring the authenticity of that. I just want to protect the business models of the 85 plus affiliates, from financial advisories to influencers. They cannot go above a certain level. We do not allow overcharging. They can sell it all the way down. I don't care if it's just above cost, do it. That's why we do it, amongst other reasons. But info at Miles Franklin, request the price sheet, and if they mention that they saw us here on this show, it will be very helpful. But that's how we get our prices out to the public, with zero obligation to talk to anyone if that's all you want to do is see the prices. Sorry to interrupt. I just want people to get the full story.
It's beautiful.
Correct. So that's so just getting back to the final kind of thing for people to look for. If they do end up speaking to someone at these companies, the company, the gold or silver that they want the clients to buy are not your run-of-the-mill typical coins bars: gold eagles, silver maple leafs, gold maple leafs, Krugerrands, Philharmonics, Britannias, all the major sovereign mints of the world that we deal with on a daily basis, nonstop, that you can buy and sell globally with no issues. What they do is they typically are much smaller fractions, such as a quarter-ounce gold piece, and they are called investment grade. They are not investment grade. They call them investment grade. They are not. They call the gold eagles, silver eagles, maple leafs, they call those common coins. So they have almost a derogatory kind of inclination to it, which is absolutely the furthest thing from the truth. You want what everybody wants, because that's what's traded day in and day out, millions and millions and millions of coins and bars all throughout the day. There is no market for those coins that they are typically selling to you. They create their own market. So they make the buy side and they also control the sell side. So it's a very dangerous game that they play, but they're playing it with your money. And that's what I would say. If anyone tries to sell you something that you never heard of, or if you Google it and you see it only being offered on eBay, that is a surefire way to know that you're having some problems.
Okay, and that was when I first went there and they were buying metals for me. I was like, oh, I trust you. What's the best to do? So I look at it now and I'm like, why didn't I research more or do more? Okay, because that makes complete sense. All right, anything else?
I think that's pretty much
That's
the gist of it. And like I said,
Ooh,
a lot of people have been put into situations where it's unfortunate. So
yeah.
if you even remotely think that you could be one of them, just send us an email at info@milesfranklin, and we will definitely take a look into it and let you know.
And I can make it even put an
Man,
exclamation point. There's 6 major mints in the world.
thank
United
you.
States Mint, United States Mint, the Royal Canadian Mint, the Australian Perth Mint, the Austrian Mint, the South African Rand Mint, and the
UK.
UK Mint.
Well,
The 1 ounce coins, both gold and silver from those mints, is the same thing as Pepsi, Coke, Sprite, 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, A&W, Ripper. You may not like the taste of one versus the other, but they all drink the same if you're dying of thirst with a hamburger in your hand. So, and I would say this, the American Eagle, gold and silver, there's also the American Gold Buffalo, though they don't make silver buffalo. The Royal Canadian Mint Maple Leaf, the Australian Kangaroo, the South African Krugerrand, the United Kingdom Britannia, and the Austrian Vienna Philharmonic. Those coins are synonymous with vanilla ice cream. They are widely understood and accepted, sight unseen by every single major company in the United States without any subjectivity at all. The difference in price from one to the other will be commission they charge. What happens is that some of these mints, 2 of them in particular, Royal Canadian Mint and Australian Mint, will allow companies like mine, if we want, we can spend a couple $1 million and buy a 1/4 ounce gold coin, or Miles Franklin has a 2-ounce silver coin that we commission from the Royal
Yeah.
Canadian Mint. Now we sell it for the same price as a Canadian Maple Leaf. The other companies who sell these coins, they go to the Royal Canadian Mint, and the Mint will say, fine, you can make a coin that's not 1 ounce, and it has to be a design that would be emblematic of something you'd find in the Canadian outdoors. Ours is the Canadian Rockies, the mountains, and we sell at the same price as a maple leaf. It's 2 ounces. But you can make a 3/4 ounce coin, a 1/4 ounce coin, a 1.5 ounce coin, but it can't be a maple leaf. It would have to be something they don't make. And then you have exclusivity to it. It's yours. Now, these companies will say, we have this special coin that we got from the Royal Canadian Mint, and we're the only ones who have it. It's limited edition. It's special coin,
Okay.
and the wealthy people are buying it. Yeah, right. I got a bridge to sell you And so the point of it is that they come from respected mints. But if you can't go on 2 or 3 online websites and find it anywhere, it's stay away from it. So if you think in your own experience, the coin that you would have gotten, go try and find that coin on any website. You won't. And that's the hook that they use. So they use what is a legitimate offer by a mint to have something that belongs to you, that you're the only one who has it, and you should be able to sell it at a fair price. Instead, they use that and turn it around and make it seem like it's something really rare and special. But the funny thing about it is, like when you go to if you went to a restaurant with your oldest girlfriend from high school, and you guys were going to sit down and catch up and just have a cup of coffee, but it happens to be the fanciest restaurant in town, and you're sitting there at the table for 4 hours having a cup of coffee, you know what the waiter or waitress is going to look at you like after 2.5 hours?
Right.
Like, come up with a butcher knife. Are you leaving anytime
scooch.
soon? Right. That's called the cost of carry, right? You're costing me because the cost of you sitting there is costing me. Well, when you try and sell this stuff back to another dealer, the cost of carry is such that, well, no one of our clients ever would buy this. They don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is. So it's going to sit on my shelf and collect nothing but dust. So you're going to get a ridiculously bad bid price, probably back of spot,
Way back
because
spot.
the dealers would have no choice other than to hold it, sell it to another wholesaler who's not going to pay them anything fair for it, or melting it down, sending it to, for example, to the Royal Canadian Mint in the form of a bar that you melt down, and they give you what's called pool credit. That credit allows you to buy gold and silver maple leafs from them down the road. It's just like cash in the bank with the mint.
Correct.
What I'm getting at is that they say that this is how they make a market for themselves. And the old concept of not drinking your own bathwater, right? So you call them back and they're going to give you a higher bid than you can find anywhere else. Yet, if you look at the spread between what they're buying it for and what they're selling it for, it's astronomical. The point of it is that you keep it simple, stupid, like you learned in elementary school. And you buy any of the 1 ounce gold and silver coins that from the mints, or 1 ounce gold bars, like Swiss gold bars. But otherwise, you just buy Eagle, Buffalo, Maple Leaf, Krugerrand, Philharmonic Britannia, or Kangaroo. And nothing else. And you'll never, ever, ever, ever have a problem, never, with an exclamation point.
That is 100% correct. Yeah. I mean, literally, even if you heard some of these names of some of these 1/4 ounce coins, it's fat-bellied pig. I mean,
Like so
it's
made
just
up.
truly
Like
insane.
grandma made them up.
It's beyond. Yeah, it's just insane. They must throw just different words into a bucket.
Wow.
And then just have 3 people choose 1 piece each, and they're like, okay,
Well,
here we go.
It has to at least be a fat-bellied pig in the wilderness in Canada. And if there is, that's what we want.
Or at the Royal Mint, who knows?
Yeah.
But that's really how it works. And you know, they don't. They are giving misinformation, but when they say that it's limited mintage, they're not lying, because they are commissioning the mints to make a 30,000 run or a 20,000 run. So when those 20 or 30,000 are up, they don't make any more of the, fat-bellied pig, but now they'll just go on to a skinny-bellied pig.
Or they could make another one
and a different design.
No, they could actually. We could do another run on the 2 ounce coins and just say it's limited edition, and that's what they do. Who knows how many they're making? It's just that no one else carries it but them.
And they tell you that the thing is, and what we found is that they tell you that when you sign, and they make, I mean, listen, our at Miles Frank, we make things simple, right? You want to buy something, you call us, we lock you in, we purchase it. We don't make you sign contracts. We don't make you do any of that. We're very comfortable in our business acumen and how we do it. They make you sign, they make you get on a telephone call recording so that you adhere to all of their statements that say that they can charge you, and they give you acronyms for it so that you don't even know what you're saying yes to.
Yeah.
When you say, what is it? And say, well, listen, if you don't say yes to this, then you can't buy it. And all those benefits that I told you about, they're gone out the window. So they record just that, just you accepting and acknowledging the spreads of the metals, so that they say, okay, yeah, you understand, blah, blah, blah. And what it really means is you can be charged up to 39% above what, they don't tell you above what, but that above what is their cost, but they don't tell you what their cost is. So now all of a sudden you could pay 40% above a number that you don't even know what that number is. So it's not above spot, because they'll never say that. They say, well, that could be our cost, but they do take into account their labor cost, their meal expense for the company executives to fly around in a jet. All of that can happen, and no one knows it. So those are all the things that people should and have to be, looking out for.
Okay, and real quick, the one company that I utilized was basically, when you come with us, you cannot do anything with your own money for 3 years. And I was like, okay, it's an IRA.
I was going to tell them that.
I was just just so accepting of that, not even thinking that there was anything wrong with it. But now I'm like, oh my, I can't believe I said yes to that.
Now I know
sure
which
did.
company you used.
And it's funny because what they say to you, and it doesn't make a difference which company anyone's referring to. They all give the same thing.
Yeah.
This is an investment for a time horizon of between 5 and 10 years. And
But you can't access it for 3.
right. Not
Right.
only
That's
that,
right.
but think about it. Gold and silver both have not been an investment vehicle that has seen the meteoric rise that we've seen in the last 2 years, right? We've seen gold almost double in the last couple of years. Silver has doubled in the last couple of years. That is not typical of the metal.
Yeah.
So when you think about it from a standpoint of, okay, well, we like to think of this as a 5 or a 10-year time horizon. Well, both metals have made that meteoric rise in a very short time frame. So time doesn't necessarily dictate price. Just because we've gone 5 years doesn't mean that silver, gold, whatever the case may be, has moved a certain level. Well, now that it's been 2 years and gold has moved 100%, what does it make a difference? Gold still moved 100%. Time shouldn't have any bearing on it. But yet the numbers when they give you the buybacks are so ridiculous. And they say that, well, it's still a 5 or a 10-year horizon, but we've already seen a 100% move in the actual price of the metal. Why should time make any, factor in it? It doesn't. It's just another one of, for them, truthfully, I believe that they are waiting because these are mostly elderly people, and that 5 or 10 years, I believe that they are looking at that time frame for those people to no longer be in existence. It then becomes their children's issue or a spouse, whatever the case may be, and then chances are they're just going to liquidate and then on to the next one. That's how I see it.
Woo.
Yeah.
And
It's really,
for
like you
me,
said,
thinking it was
it's
an IRA,
diabolical.
like it being an IRA too, and also looking like, oh, if these companies can take an IRA and transfer it, then they must be trustworthy. And so nuts. Hey, you two. Thank you. I hope you can feel it through the microphone or to see it. I mean, I'm so appreciative of y'all taking the time to be here today to explain this and going back to heart and just it is amazing what you're doing. And Kevin, I know that you and I will be in touch because we're hitting on stage 2 of our adventures together. You have been so amazing for me, and I am so grateful to both of you for being here and for being who you are. Because in this time, to find a company that has integrity and really believes in what they do, it's super good to know that y'all exist.
Well, Eden, I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. And like I said, I mean, this is this is Andy's company, and I follow the direction from him in terms of what he looks for. Integrity is everything.
It is.
And and he has built his business in 36 years based on, I would say, that and that alone. And I think that is why we have seen the success that we have. He continues to draw the following that he does because of that. And I'm just one of his little followers. That's all.
No, that's not true. He's selling
I would
himself
agree.
short. This is what happens when you grow up in Minnesota. You're nice, and you do things. You do what's right. It's the land of Little House on the Prairie and Mary Tyler Moore. It's not so much that way anymore, but my roots are still deep there, and it taught me well. My mama taught me well, and I'm being kind of facetious, but the truth of it is that we're honored to do this. Thank you for the kind words.
And thank you for having us. And I hope if there's just one person that hears this or sees this that we can help, we've done our job well.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Let's say goodbye. If y'all can hang out with me for just a second after we stop recording so we can say our personal goodbyes. Hey, everybody, tune in next week. You never know what's going to come your way. It's good stuff. All right. Thank you, Andy and Kevin. Woo! Bye now.
Thank you, Eden.
You're welcome. Y'all, find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Truth Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So subscribe, do it all. See ya.